The rain hadn't stopped in 3 days. It fell like needles against the shattered glass of the abandoned village hospital. Mud swallowed every step, every trace of movement. Inside, Navy SEALed Team BRV-7 was pinned down. 5 men, 1 wounded, and a woman they hadn't expected to fight alongside. Corpsman Elena Cruz wasn't supposed to be there. Her orders were clear. Provide medical support. Stay back from the line. But orders fall apart when the world goes dark under gunfire. The team had been ambushed while extracting intel from a safe house. What was left of it now was a flaming ruin, and the insurgents were closing in fast. Cruz, stay down. Chief. Donovan barked as rounds cracked through the walls. That's an order. Elena's hands shook, not from fear, but from frustration. She looked down at the medic bag lying open beside her, the contents scattered and soaked in mud. Tourniquets, morphine, gauze, none of it would save them now. She glanced at Petty Officer Mills bleeding out near the doorway. She'd done what she could. The rest was up to luck or God. Then she saw it. A rifle half buried under debris. An M4, its sling torn, its barrel smeared with blood. Elena hesitated for a heartbeat. Then she reached out and gripped it. The click of the safety echoed in her head like thunder. Cruz, what the hell are you doing? Donovan shouted, firing a burst through the shattered window. Saving your lives, she said, her voice steady, in a way that surprised even her. Outside, shadows moved through the rain, figures advancing low and fast. She should have been terrified. But instead, something else took over. Training. Muscle memory, the same discipline she'd used to save lives, only now to protect them. She slid into position beside Donovan. Her hands fit the rifle like they'd been there all along. The SEALs noticed. Doc's got a gun. One muttered, half in disbelief. Doc's about to make sure you get out of here alive, she replied. Eyes on the scope. The first target appeared through the rain, a silhouette against the burning wreckage. Elena squeezed the trigger. The recoil slammed into her shoulder, but the shot landed clean. The figure dropped. Donovan turned his head just long enough to see the impossible. Holy hell, that was a headshot. Lucky, she said, though the calm in her voice betrayed the lie. But it wasn't luck. Before she joined as a corpsman, Elena had spent 2 years in sniper training. She'd given it up after watching one too many men die from wounds she couldn't treat. The guilt had pushed her to medicine. The precision, however, had never left her. More insurgents pushed through the fog. Elena adjusted, exhaled, and fired again. Each shot was deliberate, measured, surgical. The SEALs fell silent as they watched her work. The medic who never missed. Cruz. Since when can you shoot like that? Mills groaned from the corner. Since before I learned to stop people from dying, she murmured. The SEALs regrouped with Elena covering them. They managed to push toward the evac point. The radio crackled to life. Static mixed with the operator's strained voice. Chopper inbound. 3 minutes out. Hold your position. 3 minutes. It might as well have been forever. Gunfire erupted from the ridge. Rounds tore through the building, splintering wooden glass. Elena hit the dirt, rolled behind a fallen beam, and returned fire. Her shots weren't random bursts. They were timed, controlled. One by one, the attackers fell. But then the last of their cover exploded. Donovan was thrown backward, his weapon clattering across the floor. Elena crawled to him, checking his pulse, strong, but he was out cold. The SEALs were down to 3 fighters and her. She could retreat. She could grab the medic bag and wait for the chopper, but something inside refused to yield. She picked up Donovan's rifle, slung it over her shoulder beside her own, and moved out into the rain. The battlefield was chaos. Smoke, fire, the stench of gunpowder, but her mind went perfectly still. She advanced through it like she'd done this 1,000 times. 2 insurgents emerged from the left flank. She dropped to a knee, fired twice. Both fell. Another round whizzed past her head. Too close. She turned, sighted, fired. Silence. When the helicopter finally roared overhead, its spotlight cut through the haze, illuminating the aftermath. Elena stood alone in the open, rifle raised, scanning for movement. Around her, the field was still. The SEALs stared from cover, disbelief written across every face. The pilot's voice came over the comms. LZ. Secure. Who cleared it? Donovan, barely conscious, looked up at her. Doc did. Elena turned, rain running down her face, streaked with soot. She didn't say a word, just helped the wounded to their feet and guided them toward the chopper. Once aboard, she finally sat down, her hands trembling now that the adrenaline was fading. Mills, his side patched with her makeshift field dressing, looked at her and smiled weakly. You sure you're just a medic? He asked. She gave a tired laugh. I was once. As the helicopter lifted off, the team watched her in silence. None of them quite knew what to say. The woman who patched their wounds had just saved their lives in a firefight that would have buried them all. When they touched down at base, the commanding officer was already waiting. He stormed over, furious, until he saw the looks on the SEALs' faces. What happened out there? He demanded. Donovan stepped forward, wincing as he saluted. Sir, if it weren't for Cruz, we'd be body bags right now. She picked up a rifle and turned the tide. The officer blinked, then turned to her. Cruz, you disobeyed direct orders to engage in combat. You're aware that she saved the team, sir. Donovan cut in. I'll take responsibility. Elena shook her head. No, I'll take it. The officer studied her for a long moment, then nodded slowly. Noted, but something tells me this won't be the last time you carry more than a medic bag. That night, in the quiet of the barracks, Elena cleaned the rifle she'd picked up. Every scratch, every dent told a story. She should have felt guilt, but instead, she felt peace. She thought of the lives she'd saved, the ones she couldn't, and the ones she'd protected today. Maybe she hadn't betrayed her calling. Maybe she just understood it better. War had a way of blurring lines. Sometimes healing meant pulling a trigger so someone else could live. Days later, word spread through the base. The medic, who fought like a marksman who held the line when even the SEALs fell back. They called her Ghost. When the next mission came, Donovan didn't hesitate. We want Cruz on point, he told command. And when she picked up her rifle again, it no longer felt like a betrayal of who she was. It felt like destiny, a medic who could heal with her hands and defend with her aim. In a world that burned, she had learned to be both savior and soldier. And the SEALs, they never looked at her the same way again. They'd seen her fight, and they'd never forget the day the medic became their protector.